All right, good afternoon, everyone. Nice to see all of you that are on now, and many of you hopefully will watch this later in today or in the next couple days. So hard to believe we are already on week 3. It's crazy how these 4 weeks go so quickly. So I hope that you're all doing well, enjoying the Wellness Challenge, maybe trying a few new things that will improve your health and wellness. And thanks so much to the team captains for sending in your mid results. The reason for that is if any of you out there are competitive and like to know where you kind of sit, this gives you halfway through the Wellness Challenge to know. So in Swift Current, some close teams, but I am going to say congratulations. As of right now, Team Canada Post, those people delivering all of your mail, they are sitting with the highest average right now with 233.5. So that'll give you an idea of kind of where you sit. Still have 2 weeks to go, so don't give up. And remember, it's all about your own growth too. So anyways, congratulations and thank you for those mid results. A few other things I wanted to mention. I hope that you and your team members were able to watch last week's Lunch and Learn session. That was with Willow Glazier speaking about mindfulness, which was very interesting. Thanks again, Willow, for presenting. Also, if you don't get a chance to watch the Lunch and Learn during this noon hour, don't worry about it. The YouTube video will be sent to you in the weekly emails. In addition, these weekly Lunch and Learn videos are always on our city website, which I will send a link to in your weekly email that you'll get from your team captain. Also, this week we have a weekly challenge of trying a new exercise. So receiving 10 points if you try a new exercise. And it doesn't have to be anything grandiose, like you went and down to the gym for the first time. You may just want to find a new video on your phone or TV that you can do a different stretch. Maybe you want to try coming out to the stockade and walking. Maybe you haven't been out there before, or coming to Forever in Motion or chair yoga. They're all free right now at the stockade. Or if any of you have tried the discounted classes over at Twist of Fate. So anything new, you can get 10 points for exercise. Also, a reminder that we're going to draw a prize at the end of the Lunch and Learn session. And I'm going to turn it on over to our friendly rivalry down south in Shaunavon. So welcome, Anna and Dana.
Thanks, Val. Yeah, so our teams have been doing great. Actually, all our team captains got all of their points into me. So great work, everyone. And yeah, we have some close teams, that's for sure. But currently sitting in first is actually Shaunavon Fire and Family. They have been absolutely crushing it. They actually have their midpoint is 241, so just shy of being perfect, actually. So yeah, but every team is doing great. So yeah.
Whatever.
Awesome. That's fantastic. Congratulations down in Shaunavon for your Fire and Family, I think it was called. Also, for some people who are new, this will come out in your email next week, but there will be a questionnaire at the very end that we like feedback, and those are bonus points. So at the last week, you can actually get over 242, but I will explain that in an email and how that works. It's a great way of getting feedback. When they know there's points, they actually complete the questionnaire. So. All right, well, enough about all of our details on the Wellness Challenge. We are here today to hear from our special guest. Our presenter today is Anna Millman from Saskatchewan Health Authority as a health educator, registered dietitian, and she will be speaking to us about nutrition, a very broad topic with lots of interesting information, I'm sure, to share. So thank you so much, Anna, for spending your time with us today, and I'll pass it on over to you. Remember, if you have any questions, you can put them in the chat box, or Anna will give you some time at the end to ask questions. Enjoy.
Well, thanks, Val, for having me. Like Val said, I'm a health educator and registered dietitian with the Saskatchewan Health Authority, and I'm really excited to have this opportunity today to present to you. I was looking back, and I guess it's been 6 years since I've presented at one of these Lunch and Learns, so it's been a while. And at that time, I did talk a little bit about mindful eating, but I've also learned a lot since then, so I'm really excited to share some new perspectives on mindful eating with you today. And I also hope to tie this into the mindfulness presentation that you had last week with Willow, since mindful eating is really about applying principles of mindfulness to food and the process of eating. So it's actually a formal practice of mindfulness. When it comes to nutrition and healthy eating, I think people, really tend to gravitate towards set rules and guidelines to determine what to eat, when to eat, and how much to eat. And while this can be really helpful to achieve certain health goals, it can also be detrimental to our health because we have gotten to a place where we find it hard to trust ourselves to know what and how much to eat. And it's also led to people feeling a lot of guilt and shame about eating. Can anyone relate to that? Perhaps. So mindful eating can be helpful because it teaches us to listen and respond to what our body is telling us. So we can learn to trust ourselves again. And this allows us to have more control over our eating, become more flexible with our eating, and find more satisfaction with our eating. And it also can help decrease that guilt and shame around eating. So when I say mindful eating, that term can be confused a lot of the times. There's lots of different ideas of what mindful eating might be, and sometimes diet culture can kind of take over and misconstrue what mindful eating is really meant to be. So when I say mindful eating, I'm not talking about just thinking about our food choices more and making healthier choices. So it's not careful eating, and it's also not just about eating really slowly or being hyper aware of every single bite we take. And it's also not about creating rules like I'm only going to eat when I'm hungry, or I have to chew a certain amount of times before I swallow, or I need to put my fork down between every bite. So I pulled the definition here from the Center for Mindful Eating. So what they say is that mindfulness is the capacity to bring full attention and awareness to one's experience in the moment without judgment. Mindful eating brings mindfulness to food choice and the experience of eating. Mindful eating helps us become aware of our thoughts, feelings, and physical sensations related to eating, reconnecting us to our innate inner wisdom about hunger and satiety. So mindful eating really involves the body, the mind, and the heart, and it's rooted in mindfulness and meditation. It's a non-judgmental, compassionate approach to our relationship with food, eating, and our bodies. And I think the non-judgmental part is really important. And I know Willow talked last week about how part of mindfulness is that non-judgmentalness. So what this means in a context of eating is that there's no right or wrong way or reason to eat, that there's no such thing as good foods or bad foods. So what it is about is it's about tuning into your body's signals of hunger and fullness to guide your decisions to begin and end eating, rather than relying on external cues from the environment, which would be things like thinking about set portion sizes or, eating until your bowl is empty. Mindful eating is also about choosing to eat foods that are both satisfying to you and nourishing to your body by using all your senses to explore, savor, and taste. So now that we know a little bit about mindful eating, we are going to do a mindful eating practice. So I don't know if anyone's eating right now, but if you are, maybe take a little pause for our activity here. And if you're not eating right now, but you have something to eat nearby, maybe just take a moment now to go grab that food. It could be anything. It could be a cracker, a piece of fresh fruit or dried fruit. It could even be a piece of chocolate. So I'll give you a moment to go grab something. So if you're watching the recording, make sure to hit pause and go grab something if you haven't already. And if you're watching this live and you don't have anything, that's all right. You can always watch the recording later and do it at that time. So I'll give everyone just a minute to get settled and ready to go. See, maybe they're passing something out in Shaunavon there. Maybe Shaunavon could give me a heads up when they're good to go. Good. Okay. So last week when Willow was talking about mindfulness, she went through the 5 senses. So we're going to do the same thing, but we're going to focus on our food instead. So you can begin by connecting to your breath and body. Maybe just feel the feet, feel your feet on the ground. And just notice your experience in this moment. Any thoughts, sensations, or emotions that you're experiencing. So first, we're going to use our sense of sight. So look at the food in front of you as if you're seeing it for the first time. Observe with curiosity as you notice the color, shape, texture, and size. What else do you notice, sense, or feel? Now we're going to focus on the sense of touch. You can touch the food with your fingers and feel the texture, temperature, and ridges. You may notice smoothness or stickiness. Just continue to breathe and be fully present in this moment. Next, we're going to focus on our sense of smell. So bring the food to your nose and smell with your full awareness. Notice if you have any memories, sensations, or reactions in your body. You may notice that you begin to have a digestive response in your body just by noticing and smelling the food. And now the moment you've been waiting for, we're going to focus on our sense of taste. So you can place the food in your mouth without chewing or swallowing it. Just allow it to be in your mouth. Maybe roll it around to different parts of your mouth and tongue. Notice the flavor and texture. Is it salty, sweet, spicy? Or maybe it's bland. Next, you can just take one bite and notice the flavor. Notice the change of texture. And then very slowly begin to chew this piece of food and focus on what you hear. Now that may sound a little weird. Have you ever thought about what you hear when you're eating? Maybe notice the sound that the food makes as you chew it and swallow. What else can you hear? Connect again to your body and breath, and notice your experience in this moment. You can continue to eat this way for another few bites if you wish, or until you finish, your snack or if you're still eating your lunch. And now I invite you to share any thoughts from this mindful eating practice. What did you notice, or how is this different from the way you normally eat? Feel free to use the chat box or unmute and share. And remember, there's no right or wrong answer. There's no good or bad. It might have been a pleasant experience. Perhaps it was not. So remember, practicing mindfulness isn't just about pleasant experiences. Does anyone want to share? Anyone in Shaunavon there? You're all so quiet.
I don't know the way I would normally eat. It's not at all the way I would normally tend to shovel it in. Yeah.
Yeah. So definitely different from how we would normally eat. What do you oh, go ahead.
For me, it was much slower because I'm usually distracted. I often eat in front of my computer for lunch, not for supper, and it's just going in mindlessly. And this
Mhm.
would be much slower for me.
Yeah. And there's a comment in here in the chat box as well. Being mindful certainly slows me down, stops me from wolfing down what's in front of me. And so while it might not be realistic to eat like this all the time, you know, it's something you can do once in a while as kind of that reminder. So you can kind of think of it as when you practice mindfulness, you might do a meditation, but you don't walk around meditating all day, right? So you wouldn't eat like this all the time per se, but it's something you could do once in a while just to kind of get yourself back into that mindset of maybe it is, oh, I need to slow down, or maybe it's, I need to remove those distractions. So there are steps we can take to try to eat more mindfully. Any other final comments about the mindful eating practice? So mindful eating can really be helpful to improve your relationship with food. It's not intended to be a standalone practice either. So, you know, mindful eating isn't gonna, you know, solve all your nutrition problems. So, healthy eating in our relationship with food is very complex. So mindful eating is just one tool that we can use with other practices or approaches to improve our relationship with food. It really helps to first establish that basic mindfulness practice. So I always recommend that people try to do guided meditations, and there's lots of apps out there that can help you with this. So some good ones that I recommend are Insight Timer, and there's one called 10% Happier. That one's really good as well. If you don't like to use apps, you can just, you know, go on YouTube. You can purchase CDs. So there's lots of different opportunities out there. And then just starting to approach eating with more curiosity and kindness and compassion, and start to notice our hunger and fullness sensations a little bit more. There is an app that you can check out as well for mindful eating. There isn't a lot out there, but this one is definitely the best one that I've seen. It's called Meal, all in capital letters, and then Mindful Eating and Living. So that's one worth checking out. Another really good resource is the Center for Mindful Eating. So they have some recordings on their website, so you can listen to different meditations and mindful eating practices on their website. So their website is tcme.org. And you can also purchase a membership for $55 per year. I know not everyone wants to, make that expense, but they do offer monthly meditations, as well as what they call the Conscious Cafe, where you bring a meal or snack, and they take you through a mindful eating experience, kind of like what we did today. So there's like a check-in at the beginning, and then you do the practice, and then you kind of reflect on that. So they're a really good resource. Another resource we have is a program that the SHA offers called Eat Well, Live Well. And it's 6 sessions, so that runs once a week for 6 weeks, and half a session is focused on mindful eating. So it's definitely not the focus of the program, but it's part of the program. But we also talk about a lot of other nutrition topics that you might be interested in, like carbohydrates, protein, fat. We talk about meal planning. We talk about label reading. We also even talk about just thinking about the different reasons why we eat. So that program is offered both in person and virtually. We're in the middle of an in-person group right now. So the next one will be virtual, probably in the spring. So if people are interested, they can contact me to learn more and register. And I just see, I'll ask Anna to send me the resources. Yeah, so I'll make a list of all the resources, and then we can send that out, so you don't have to write them all down. So I'll provide my contact information as well. So if you're interested in the Eat Well, Live Well program, you can contact me. And if you're needing more individualized support, I would recommend seeing a dietitian. If you have a chronic condition such as diabetes, there's lots of other chronic conditions, you could see a dietitian with the SHA. You don't need a referral from a doctor, and I can also include in those resources the phone numbers to contact if you would like to book an appointment to see a dietitian. If you don't meet that criteria to see one of the SHA dietitians, there are also dietitians you can see in private practice. Unfortunately, we don't have any right in Swift Current, but several of them offer virtual services. So I can send out that as well. There is a cost to see those dietitians, but lots of insurance providers cover dietitian services. So I would definitely check that out. So that is all I wanted to share with you today. Are there any questions about mindful eating or just general nutrition questions you were hoping you could get answered today? Feel free to unmute or use the chat box again. I know last week was the challenge was to try a new recipe, right, Val?
Mhm.
Did anybody try something that was super awesome that they maybe want to share?
So here in Shaunavon, we had our coffee chat theme last week for our coffee chat group was recipes. And so a lot of people brought little samples of new recipes, and we shared recipes, and I'm compiling the little book of the ones that were shared. So yeah, there was some good conversation and some wonderful food around that.
That's awesome. That sounds fun.
I think I might have
Awesome.
to step it up here in Swift Current. Hey, you guys are all wondering why Shaunavon gets all these gatherings with food. We're going to have to see if we can have a food gathering here too. So the one thing I wanted to mention, I know that you made a comment that no food is good or bad. However, we hear lots about, I think I know the answer of this is probably moderation, but sugar, for example, right? We have a society that has a lot of sugar or processed foods or very high in salt or the unhealthy fats. And then there's been marketing through the years that, you know, you go with no fat, low fat, no carbs, high carbs, you know, so we're hearing lots. And I hear and I appreciate what you're saying about mindfulness, but what would your comment be about, let's just use sugar, for example. So if it's not a bad food, is it just about moderation?
Yeah, thanks, Val. That's a great question. So I think when we label foods as good or bad, the problem is, well, if this food is bad and I ate a bad food, then I'm bad. And then that's what creates all that guilt and shame around eating and can be harmful to our relationship with food. So when it comes to foods and talking about, you know, healthy eating, because healthy eating is still important. That's not to say, you know, just eat whatever you want. It doesn't matter. There are foods that are more nutritious than others. And depending on what your health goals are, there might be certain foods that you want to limit and foods that you might want to eat more often. So I always recommend an individualized approach. So that's why seeing a dietitian can be really helpful to see, you know, what you're eating now and, you know, are there small little changes you can make to improve your nutrition and ultimately whatever your health goals are. So when it comes to something like sugar, you know, I think people like to hear like solutions that are like really straightforward or easy. But lots of times it does come down to things like moderation and just, yeah, still being able to include those foods, but you know, maybe it's not something that we have at every single meal. So even though moderation sounds like a really basic idea, it is really helpful still to think about it in that way. So hopefully that answers your question, Val.
Yeah, for sure. Nutrition is, like I started with, a very broad, complex, and we're getting information all the time, whether it's correct information or not. We are bombarded with information all the time. And I think we all would like a very quick, easy answer to it. Tell me exactly what to eat and I'm going to feel great. But it's so individual. You're right. So thank you so very much, Anna. I really appreciate this approach around mindfulness because I know it's something that I could definitely improve on. And I look forward to slowing down a little and being more present and mindful when I'm eating. And so thank you very much for sharing that information. The one thing, like I said in the chat, Anna, if you could send me an email when we're finished about, you know, that meal, mindful eating and learning, you had a few different resources. If you send them to me, I'll send them out this afternoon with the weekly email that goes to the team captains.
Sounds great. Thanks so much for having me.
Well, you're very welcome. So thank you again for that. We're giving you all a big, big clap here. I won't do it too loud. All right, well, we are down to the last minute or two, and this is the prize draw time. So if you want to begin Town of Shaunavon with your cool little spinning app for your prize, I'll pass it over.
Perfect. Okay, thanks, Val, and thank you, Anna, for that great presentation. So today our prize is themed kind of with nutrition. We got Main Street Muscle and Fitness to donate some supplements for us. So there's quite a handful of nice, great supplements here, and also like a training logbook, a shaker cup, and a sweet bag to put it all in. So I'll share my screen and we'll pick our winner. Okay, here we go. And the winner is the Taxmanian Devils, which is funny because she works at Stark and Marsh. So that's wonderful. So I'll get in touch with their team captain and yeah, perfect.
Well, that's awesome. Congratulations. And we will do the same. And maybe I will have Anna, our presenter, pick a number between 1 and 21, but you cannot have 5 or 19.
Oh, let's go with 8.
All right. Perfect. All right. So the cool grandma won today. So that is an individual, and Cool Grandma has sent me a few texts, and she is definitely cool with all the new things that she is trying to do during the Wellness Challenge. Now, if you remember last week, it was kind of an ironic situation. It was going to be from Central Avenue Physio, but their team won, so I swapped it. Last week, it was the aquatic pass and an in-motion bag that went to Central Avenue Physio team. So thank you to the Aquatic Center. And this week now it's going to be the Central Avenue Physiotherapy, which is a 6-week wellness program plus a muscle roller that will go out to the Cool Grandma. So I will be passing that on, and the prize will be down at City Hall probably later this afternoon. So thank you so very much, everyone. Good luck. We are on the last stretch here. We're at the end of week 3. There will be a weekly email coming out later this afternoon. And then we're going into week 4, and I'll send one out next week too. Our next Lunch and Learn will be next Thursday we have a physiotherapist and an occupational therapist going to join us next Thursday. So thanks again to Anna, and have a fantastic day, everyone. Bye-bye.